Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, the story of Tieu and Uri takes a dramatic turn. After leaving her mother's house in the middle of a heavy downpour, Tieu finds herself torn between two paths. Should she return to Uri, the man who has always waited for her with unwavering love, or should she let go of him to meet her mother's expectations? Back at the farm, Uri continues working quietly, tending to the chickens, cleaning the garden, and preparing a warm, simple meal. But for him, it's more than just dinner. It's a silent hope. Every slice, every flavor carries a prayer that when Tieu walks through the door, the comfort of this humble meal will ease her pain and remind her where she truly belongs. But the question remains, will this dinner be enough to keep her heart from slipping away? Stay tuned. Back at the farm, Uri threw himself into his usual chores. He scattered feed for the chickens, their frantic clucks echoing through the yard, and swept out the coops, making sure everything was in order. To anyone watching, he looked calm, steady, almost lost in routine. But behind his quiet movements, his mind was far away. Every now and then, he would pause, leaning on the broom, his eyes drifting toward the empty path leading out of the farm. That was the direction Tieu had taken when she left. And with every glance, the same question pressed harder on his heart. Would she come back? Uri tried to shake off the thought, focusing instead on the vegetables growing in neat rows in the garden, on the animals that depended on him. Yet even as his hands worked tirelessly, his chest felt heavy. He knew Tieu was caught in a storm of her own, torn between her mother's unyielding demands and the life they had begun building together here. He could only imagine the weight she carried, the pain of having to choose between family and love. Uri wasn't angry with her. He understood. But that didn't stop the worry from gnawing at him. As the sun sank lower in the sky, Uri whispered to himself almost like a prayer. Please, Tieu, be strong. Find your way back to me. At the family company, another storm was quietly brewing this time. Not outside in the rain, but within the four walls of the office. Lin and Trang, two women who had always been rivals, found themselves clashing once again. Their voices, sharp and unrelenting, echoed through the room as tension mounted with every word. For Lin, the frustration had reached a breaking point. In a burst of anger, she turned to Uri's mother, who happened to be present, and openly accused Trang of being lazy and irresponsible. The words cut through the room like a knife, leaving everyone stunned. Trang's face flushed with indignation, her eyes burning as she fought to defend herself. What might have been a simple disagreement quickly turned into something much more dangerous. The insults didn't just wound, they slashed at the fragile balance that kept the company together. Every sentence, every accusation felt like gasoline poured onto an already smoldering fire. Uri's mother sat stiffly caught between the two, her silence only deepening the weight of the moment. The atmosphere grew heavier, suffocating as if the very walls could sense the brewing explosion. No one dared to breathe too loudly. The office, usually a place of order and discipline, had transformed into a battlefield without weapons, but with words just as lethal. Uri made up his mind to head into the forest. The rain had left the dirt path slick and uneven, each step a careful balance between caution and determination. Yet no matter how muddy the ground became, Uri pressed forward with steady resolve. He wasn't just looking for food, he was searching for a sense of purpose, a way to quiet the storm that weighed so heavily on his heart. The forest was alive, with the sounds of water dripping from the leaves, the low hum of crickets, and the steady rush of a nearby stream swollen from the rain. Uri followed the sound, hoping to find bamboo shoots to add to his dinner. His hands brushed against the wet stalks, feeling the earth's freshness, and for a moment, he allowed himself to breathe a little easier. Then, just as he reached the edge of a small stream, fortune seemed to smile on him. There, right in front of him, was a basket overflowing with frogs leaping and squirming in every direction. Uri froze, then let out a quiet laugh, soft but genuine. In the middle of his uncertainty, amidst all his silent worry for Tieu, this small discovery felt like a gift. He crouched down, his rough hands steady as he secured the catch. The frogs would make for a hearty meal, something he could share with Tieu if no when she came back. It wasn't just food. It was hope disguised as dinner, a reminder that life still offered small mercies, even when everything else felt heavy. As Uri straightened up, carrying the basket back along the slippery trail, a faint smile lingered on his face. For the first time that day, he felt a flicker of comfort, like maybe things could still turn out all right. On his way back from the forest, Uri suddenly crossed paths with two strangers. They eyed the basket in his hands and without hesitation offered to buy every single frog he had caught. For a moment, Uri hesitated. Selling them all would have been easy. Quick money, no fuss, no need to carry the heavy basket home. But as he stood there, rain dripping from the brim of his hat, another thought came to him. He pictured Tieu's tired face, imagined her stepping through the door after the storm, and the simple comfort of sharing a hot meal together. That image weighed heavier than any offer of convenience. So, with a polite but firm tone, Uri shook his head. Instead of selling the entire catch, he agreed to part with only half, keeping the rest safely tucked away for the dinner he planned to make. To anyone else, it might have looked like an ordinary decision. But for Uri, it was far from simple. It was a choice born out of love, a quiet promise that no matter what storms raged outside, he would be ready with warmth and care when Tieu returned. Lifting his eyes toward the stormy heavens, Uri whispered a prayer under his breath. Tieu, come back to me. No matter how fierce the rain, no matter how strong the wind, I'll be here waiting. As night fell, the little farmhouse glowed with the warmth of a single fire. The kitchen flickered with light as Uri bent over the hearth, carefully tending to each dish he was preparing. The crackle of the flames blended with the steady rhythm of his movements, almost like music, soft, patient, and deliberate. On the table beside him lay the fruits of his foraging trip, fresh bamboo shoots and plump frogs from the stream. Uri worked with a calm focus, seasoning and frying the frogs until they turned golden and crisped, their aroma filling the small room. Next, he mixed the tender bamboo shoots with herbs, creating a cool, refreshing salad to balance the richness of the main dish. To anyone else, it might have looked like nothing more than a simple country meal. But for Uri, every step was deliberate, every flavor a message. He wasn't just cooking, he was building something sacred. Each motion, each careful taste test felt like a ritual of devotion, because in his heart this dinner carried a promise. The sizzling pan, the fragrant herbs, the glowing fire. All of it spoke words he couldn't say out loud. I'll be your shelter. No matter how hard the storm rages outside, I'll always be here for you. Uri's hands moved steadily, but his eyes often flicked to the door. He imagined Tieu walking in, weary from the battles she fought with her mother, her spirit weighed down by choices she shouldn't have to make. He hoped that when she stepped inside the warmth of this meal, the golden crisp of the frog, the freshness of the bamboo shoots, the glow of the firelight, would remind her she wasn't alone. The sound of footsteps echoed softly on the porch, and then just as the fire inside reached its brightest glow, Tieu appeared at the doorway. She was home. She stepped into the little house, her eyes falling on. Uri bent over the fire, carefully tending to the pan. The smell of something savory filled the air, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. She tilted her head, curiosity shining through her exhaustion. "Uri, what are you cooking? It smells amazing." Uri turned his face, lighting up with a joy he could hardly contain. His smile was quiet, but his eyes told the whole story. Relief, gratitude, love. Without a word, he picked up a golden piece of crispy fried frog and the surface glistening from the firelight and held it out to her. "Here," he said softly. "Try this." Tieu leaned in, taking a careful bite. The crisp texture gave way to rich flavor, savory and perfectly seasoned. For a moment, her tired eyes widened and then softened into a brightness that had been missing all day. A small smile touched her lips, delicate but genuine. "It's delicious," she whispered. "You really do have a gift." In that tiny kitchen, surrounded by the glow of the fire, the heaviness that had followed her seemed to lift, if only for a moment. The storm outside still raged, but inside the air was calm, filled with warmth, laughter, and the quiet language of love. They sat together in silence, not needing many words. The crackling fire, the simple dishes laid on the table, and the comfort of one another's presence said more than promises ever could. And maybe in that moment, Tieu realized something she had been searching for all along. Happiness doesn't always come wrapped in dreams of wealth or grand promises of the future. Sometimes it is found in the simplest gestures. A man who saves half a basket of frogs not to sell, but to share with the woman he loves when she comes home. It was a reminder that true love isn't measured in riches, but in care, sacrifice, and the quiet certainty of someone who waits for you no matter how heavy the storm.
Chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại kênh của mình. Chiều ngày hôm nay, Uri vẫn miệt mài trong công việc tại trang trại. Ánh mắt anh nặng trĩu nỗi lo âu. Liệu Tử Tiêu có quay lại với anh sau áp lực từ mẹ? Tại công ty gia đình, Linh và Trang lại căng thẳng. Linh không ngần ngại tố Trang lười biếng trước mặt mẹ của Uri, khiến không khí thêm phần căng thẳng. Chiều muộn, Uri quyết định vào rừng để tìm măng nứa cho bữa tối. Con đường đất trơn trượt vì mưa, nhưng anh vẫn bước đi kiên định. Bên bờ suối nhỏ, may mắn bất ngờ mỉm cười, anh bắt được một giỏ ếch đầy. Anh khẽ bật cười, như tìm thấy niềm an ủi giữa cơn lo âu. Trên đường về, Uri bất ngờ gặp hai người đàn ông lạ mặt. Họ ngỏ ý muốn mua lại toàn bộ số ếch. Anh chần chừ, sau đó anh chỉ bán đi một nửa, giữ phần còn lại để làm bữa tối cho Tử Tiêu. Khi trời sập tối, anh nấu món ếch rang muối và nộm măng nứa, lòng thầm cầu nguyện Tử Tiêu sớm quay về. Và rồi Tử Tiêu xuất hiện, ngửi thấy mùi thơm từ bếp. Cô chạy lại hỏi và Uri đã cho cô thử. Nụ cười nở trên môi của Tử Tiêu. Cô nói, ngon lắm, anh đúng là khéo tay. Trong khoảnh khắc đó, họ chia sẻ niềm hạnh phúc giản dị. Tử Tiêu hiểu rằng hạnh phúc đôi khi không phải là những lời hứa hẹn, mà là người đàn ông biết dành những điều tốt đẹp nhất cho cô.